Hispanics are causing panic, baby. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is D-Style Boxing. Thanks to those joining me live and to those that be joining me on archive. This episode of the Roundtable, all right, is brought to you by Tecate Light, all right? So at least that's what I'm drinking today. I will be joined by Maestro A, of course. Catch the show mano a mano every Monday with co-host Kenny. Chief Funky, second half of HCP. Check out his show, Uncensored, on his channel. Soon to be on Mondays. Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter. Check out his show every Sunday. And, of course, we have the one and the only Johnny Sig on here, making his debut to the Round Table. How are you doing, brother?
Thank you for having me on, man. I'm doing great.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to get this started. It's been a whole week. And last week, we kind of talked about Claressa Shields about to make her MMA debut. Serrano had a fight as well where she won with a standing chokehold or something like that. Maestro, what did you make of Claressa Shields? Were you nervous for her? Well, what's going on?
Well, I wasn't really nervous for Claressa Shields. Once I saw that the lady she fought was 2-6 going into the fight. She looked pretty imposing at the weigh-in, very tall, very lean, very athletic. Clearly does have a pretty decent jiu-jitsu game, but Claressa Shields was clearly the better overall athlete, clearly had better lower body strength, clearly was just able to muscle her way back onto her feet, muscle her way out of arm bars. And I was actually very impressed with her toughness, with her tenacity, with her fitness, and also with her ability to put herself out there to do something new, to try hard and potentially lose on a pretty big scale. I mean, for someone who holds 4 titles in boxing to kind of risk that mystique that she has of being unbeatable, that says something. So I actually walked out of the fight or watching the fight with more of a positive view of Claressa Shields than I had going into the fight. And I already thought Claressa Shields was pretty solid.
All right. Well said. Well said. Jay Funky, what did you make of her MMA debut?
I thought it was I think it was okay. You know, I'm not a big MMA fan. Everybody that watches the show already knows I'm not big on MMA. I don't really watch it too often. Although I did watch this one because there was a boxer involved. You know, I'm always going to root for the boxer anytime they go up against an MMA fighter. That's just the way it is over here with G-Funk. And I'm glad Shields got the win, you know, although I was a little concerned. I felt like she lost the first 2 rounds of that fight. The other fighter she was in there with, I felt controlled her, was able to take her down and keep her down pretty easily the first couple rounds. Almost got her in an arm bar. Shields was able to get out of that. I honestly don't know how she was able to break free of that arm bar, but she did. Thank God, because if she didn't, it would have been over, and we wouldn't have heard the end of it from the MMA fans. But the last round comes around, and she, you know, brought the dog out and let her hands go and did what she had to do to get the win. And you know, I'm happy because boxing beats MMA. You know, and I'll take that every time. But as far as Shields goes, personally, I think she should just stay over there. To be honest with you, if she wants money, if that's what she's looking for to get paid for fighting, obviously there's more money there in MMA than in boxing. So I don't know what else there is to prove. Maybe 1 or 2 more fighters she could fight in boxing, but I feel like the real challenge is in the real money for her at MMA. So that's my opinion on it.
All right. Okay. Well, B, what did you make of her performance and the aftermath of it?
Well, I'm a casual MMA fan, but what I did notice was definitely she was stronger, she was quicker, and she was obviously the better striker. Her opponent was more of a jiu-jitsu specialist, not even a exceptional wrestler, but a better wrestler than Shields, obviously. But as Maestro said, I think Shields' lower body strength and the way she was able to push up off the mat, and she was punching too when she was on her back, and that was due to her being able to brace her lower body, and push off with her legs, even when she was on the ground, which was extremely impressive. So I think she won this, not necessarily on her skills, obviously her striking skills, but not her overall all around MMA skills. But she won this basically with her strength and her athletic ability, and obviously her ability to use her hands and much more effectively than her opponent in terms of striking. So that's what really won this fight for her. She did get off to a shaky start, but once she kind of relaxed a little bit in there and was able to break out of some of those holds and be able to get back up on her feet, break through the armbar and all that stuff, she showed a lot of grit and toughness and heart in this fight, and I think she deserves credit for that without question.
Making his debut to the round table here, Johnny Sig. Give us your thoughts on the performance of Claressa Shields.
I thought Shields looked amazing, in terms of it's her first mixed martial arts fight. Now, she is a fighter. Why I say amazing is that she beat her opponent with the ground and pound. She took her down, man. She reversed all the adversity she was going through. And what's the knock on Claressa Shields in the boxing public? Oh, she can't punch. She doesn't get knockouts. She goes in her MMA debut and knocks this girl out. She gets her on the ground and pounds her. And that's probably one of the most exciting, things in mixed martial arts. And another facet you have to also realize, and you guys had mentioned it so brilliantly before, when we were all unpacking this thing, is that she survived an armbar. She looked like she was under serious duress and very uncomfortable. Like when I was watching it, I'm like, ooh, this might be a very difficult situation for her to be in, but she got out of that thing and then she gets the ground and pound. So that's excitement. I want to see Claressa Shields continue fighting in mixed martial arts. I mean, Amanda Serrano did it recently, and we're seeing a lot of women cross over. Fellas, I got one question for you all. Why do the women get more money in MMA as opposed to boxing, and the men make more money in boxing than the men make in MMA? It's a weird situation we have here.
It's all about how many people watch the fights. It's like women's tennis. A lot of people watch women's tennis. Unfortunately, not a lot of people watch women's boxing. More people watch women's MMA and more men watch male boxing. I think that's what it is, really.
I want to introduce Christine Lopez in the ring with Christine. Women Crushing the Wednesdays every Wednesday. How's it going, Christine?
It's going well. I'm sorry I'm late to the party. Got in late and had to shower up, get right on. So sorry about that.
So what was your feeling when you were watching Claressa fight in MMA? And then just watching her pull it off at the end, what was your feeling about it?
I'm not too familiar with MMA, but from what I can see, I thought she did really great. I did talk to some other people that are more familiar, and they were saying that, the girl wasn't that good, or she did all right, or whatever. But I'm like, she was on the ground twice, and then she came out the third time and was like, it's not going to happen again. And I thought she closed the show very well. I mean, rolling around for 5 minutes, throwing punches, avoiding kicks and punches. That's impressive to me. So I thought she did great.
Absolutely. And shout out to H Money, Javier Avila, Duval Grind, H Money, Anali Jaramillo, Stephen in the chat, JC, how are you doing? Wheelchair Man, John. Maestro Boxing doing double duty in the chat as well. Ringside Reporter on there, Chief Funky on there. Everybody, shout out to you, man. Thank you for being here. Hit the like button. Share the video on all your social media platforms, and let them know what do you think in the chat. Of course, look, when I saw Claressa win, I noticed two things, and I think this is why she won. I think she had more dog in her than her opponent because she was in worse trouble than her opponent for 2 rounds, and she got through it. Like, she was getting her ass whooped for 2 rounds, if we keep it real. You know what I mean? That's what was happening. Once her opponent dealt with a little bit of adversity and she was getting her ass whooped, she gave up right away. That's what happened. She curled up, and that's which was strange to watch her get curled up. But it reminded me of something Rampage Jackson said once, and they asked him, "Hey, what's your style in MMA?" And he said, "My style is I whoop your ass style." Right? So that's what she did. She just went out there and just whooped her ass. She found a way to win. Like, she knew just enough to find an opening to win. Her opponent had a lot of openings, but couldn't quite capitalize. Didn't quite have that killer instinct to do something about it. You know, she went for the armbar, lost hold of it. I think she just didn't have a lot of confidence in herself. That's the sense I got from her opponent. Now, people could point out at her record. Let me tell you something. She had 8 professional MMA fights. She probably had some amateur fights and some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments she probably did. She was a brown belt. Clarissa Shields had 0. Like, that's impressive. I don't care what anybody says.
Absolutely.
You go fight an MMA fighter that's 2-8 and come back and tell me how it went. Okay? At the end of the day. So, impressive win by Clarissa Shields. Also, shout out to Serrano, who, like, keeps choking out all her opponents. That's crazy. She knocks them out of the ring, chokes them out in the cage, or in this case, it was a ring. Reminded me of the old Pride days. But let's go ahead and proceed here. But shout out to Clarissa. Go win, the whole 9. Just one thing I want to point out, though. Outside of the top women MMA fighters, do they really make more? Like Katie Taylor makes over $1 million. Like, do any of them make that money?
Well, I can answer the question. I think a lot of people, you know, and I'll do it to the best of my knowledge. A lot of the women I speak to on my shows, they're crossing over because the money and the demand for women fighting, like, it's job opportunity. They're trying to cross over to get the job opportunity. You know, with female boxing, I don't want to speak for female boxers on their behalf, but to my understanding, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's just more cards for women in the UFC. And to be honest, quite frankly, I love watching the ladies fight. They're awesome.
Yeah. That was an exciting fight. Go ahead, you Funky.
I was gonna say I couldn't tell you. You know, I'm one of those fans. I don't really pay attention to the fighters' purses and stuff like that. And you know, I don't know, but for some reason, it's the women. It's a lot more popular over there in MMA, especially UFC. You know, for whatever reason that is, I don't know. I feel like MMA is MMA to me. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm a hater. I don't know. Call me what you want, but for me, there's really not big of a difference.
G Funky, you said it perfectly.
I think a big difference, guys, is that women that have trained in judo, women that have trained in jiu-jitsu, and to a lesser extent, women who have trained in Taekwondo, like, they finish people. Like, their knockouts in Taekwondo, you could look it up on the internet, and they obviously have, you know, submissions in the other ground sports. So people like seeing fights get finished, like whether it's a submission or whether it's a knockout. And as much as we like women's boxing, it doesn't generate the amount of knockouts and finishes as women MMA. I think that's a big part of it too. And Katie Taylor's kind of an exception, I think. You know, Irish amateur, big following in the UK, really well promoted by Eddie Hearn. I think Eddie Hearn is one of the few promoters that's really gotten behind a female fighter and pushed her the way he would push a man that he wants to be a star.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And well, we'll see how that goes. We have a lot of topics to cover here today. We are going to touch on the Fury Wilder. Oscar De La Hoya going to be fighting, speaking of MMA, an MMA fighter, Vitor Belfort. Brando Moreno wins the UFC flyweight title. I will tie it to boxing a little bit. When we get there, I'll let you guys know. 130 pounds. We're going to do the divisional round there. Valdez extends this contract with Top Rank. So stay here. A lot to talk about. Hit the like button. Fury Wilder. Okay, first of all, I got, like, people are like wondering what was Wilder listening to in those headphones. You know what I mean? Like what is he listening to? What's going on? You know, 'cause I know when I'm talking, G-Funky plays music. He doesn't want to listen to me. You know, he'll play some. You know what I mean? But I got it exclusive here. Sources told me I got it here. Let's play it. Editor, go ahead.
3 little birds sat on my window, and they told me I don't need to worry. 3 little birds sat on my window, and they told me I don't need to worry.
So that's what he was playing. That's the music. Hey, but anyway, hey Johnny, I want to ask you, what did you make at the press conference? What did you make of Wilder not saying anything at the press conference and everything that happened afterwards? All the interviews you did, all that.
Well, let's take a look at this. Like Deontay said a lot in the past, since their last fight with Tyson Fury. He said a whole lot of stuff. I think it was his best bet and, best look to just kind of keep his mouth shut, show that he's business, come in there. I'm a huge Deontay Wilder fan. My heart was actually broken the night when I saw him go in there and face Tyson Fury for the second time and get beat up, just manhandled. And then he came out with all the excuses that went along with that. So my thing is that I think it was better served that he just he talked a lot about excuses, the armor being too much, this being too much. I was drugged. I was poisoned. The gloves were played with. I'm like, dude, I love this guy as a fighter. I think he's explosive, a great personality, looks the part. But I was just like, when I saw him at the press conference wearing the headphones and just keep his mouth shut, I'm like, all right, that's business to me. So hopefully we get the business from Deontay Wilder.
Okay, all right. Beeb, you've had time to absorb it all. What did you make of Wilder, brother, and all the fallout? He did all these interviews. What is your overall thought on Wilder?
Thought it was unprofessional. I mean, you're there to do a job, and part of the job is to promote the fight. You have a responsibility to talk to the press. In other sports, if you don't talk to the press, you can get fined. So you're required to talk to the press in other sports. Obviously, boxing's not the same thing as other sports. We have, we walk to a beat of our own drum in this sport. But I just thought also that it made him look like he made all these accusations, and obviously he knew the press was going to ask about some of those accusations, and he didn't seem to not want to talk about facing those accusations from the press. So I'm getting the sense that he's picking and choosing who he wants to interview him, and basically the people who are interviewing him are giving him softball interviews. So it's pretty strategic. It's pretty basic. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what he's doing. But I thought it was a bad look, and I wasn't happy about it. I was disappointed in his behavior at that press conference, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay. All right. Christine, what did you make of it, man? Poncher asked him a question. He was just listening to his music. What did you make?
I got pummeled yesterday on Twitter, and I don't care. I let's go. I thought he was rude. It's like, or he could have had a conversation with her before and said, Christina, it's nothing personal, but I'm not going to answer any questions. I think that would have been the right thing to do. I thought he looked very rude. Anybody that knows Christina knows she is the nicest, most professional woman out there in boxing. And so I didn't like it. And then it just showed me that still mentally and emotionally, he's not ready for this fight. He didn't want to hear, what Fury had to say. How was it going to affect him? He didn't want to hear any of the questions that he might have been asked. It was like a little kid, like la, 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 and here comes dad to come answer the questions, So I thought it was a horrible look. I think that he is going to get beat worse in this third fight than the first two.
Okay. Milcar, what are you feeling, man?
I mean, I want to just echo the sentiments of everything that was said so far. I mean, it did remind me of a girl I went to elementary school who, if you got into an argument, where they would just go, la, 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 exact same thing. I mean, the guy couldn't stand up for what he said. And I encourage everyone to listen to the song by T.I. called Stand Up. And that is essentially my opinion of that whole situation. T.I. stand up. A man who says something when he's confronted face to face really has two options. Option number one, you man up and you say what you said face to face. Option number two, you know what? It was a tough fight. It was my first loss. It was a really difficult situation. I had a whole lot of people sending me all kinds of stuff. You know, I probably shouldn't have co-signed a lot of it. That's my bad. You know, we've looked at it, me and my team, me and my brother Malik Scott, and we're ready to go. You know, we're war ready. This is going to be a different outcome. Boom. I just said that off the top of my head. If he had said that, I'd be back to being a Deontay Wilder fan. I'd be back to the till this day when he said that, and he had everybody all amped up for that fight. But he didn't do that. He put on his headphones, and unfortunately, nobody was there to ask the questions that I wanted to have asked. Do you really think Mark Breland spiked your water? Do you really think it's fair to do what you did to Mark Breland? No one asked that. Did Tyson Fury really have egg weights in his gloves? Do you really believe that, Deontay Wilder? What about the glove placement, Deontay Wilder? What about the suit? What about you saying, or your team saying, that you might have had COVID-19? Where were the questions? So, one, bad look by Deontay Wilder, but two, I mean, bad look by the media, because if you're not getting it from him, yo, you got to go hunt down JD's. I saw his manager or what do they call them? Advisors. Shelly Finkel was there. Where's the media? The one guy I did do a good job, actually, was Radio Raheem. He cornered Malik Scott, and to Malik Scott's credit, he gave some answers to some tough questions. But Radio Raheem was really trying to get out of him. Let's discuss the Mark Breland. What happened there? What are your thoughts on it? No one wants to answer that question. Really? You guys put an Olympic gold medalist, former world champion, in the shoebox of, this is a man who trains people and poisons his fighters, and no one's willing to stand up for that? Well, it's either stand up or apologize. It's one of the two. And that's all I gotta say.
I agree with you 100%. And maybe part of the reason why Deontay did not want to talk is because he puts his foot in his mouth. He throws people under the bus. What he did to Mark Breland, dude, Mark Breland's like one of the best, most brilliant amateur fighters, great world champions that ever existed. Great guy. You know, for him to just throw him under the bus like that. So I don't know if maybe his Deontay Wilder's management like just told him just like to put, wrap it up. Don't talk, like just, put a mask on, if you will, like, and just not leak it out, because I think that the more he spoke over that course of time when he suffered that loss from Tyson Fury, the worse damage it did to his whole reputation. Like you said, Amilcar, like if you go back and look at it, like if he had just said like, yo, I got outbested that night, man, I got beat by a guy that had a game plan down. I didn't bring shit to the table. But then when you start making a million excuses and then start blaming good, reputable people, I think that makes it a lot worse.
So, Chris, Chief Funky, what did you, what's your overall feeling now? It's Thursday now. What are you feeling?
I feel the same way that I did watching it live. I feel like Fury has real estate in Wilder's head right now. He is living in there rent-free, tap dancing all around. He's doing whatever he wants with this guy in his head. The fact that Wilder didn't want to hear anything he had to say, or didn't want to take questions from anybody that was going to question him about all his accusations that he made after this loss that he had, shows how really weak this guy is, in my opinion. There's a mental part of any competition. It doesn't matter if it's boxing, any kind of sport. There's always going to be somebody there that's going to try to get into your head and play those games with you. And it's about how you handle it is what makes you, tough. This guy, I feel like this guy just can't deal with it. And Fury turned this guy into a mute, basically. That's how bad he's got him. That's how bad he's got him played. He turned him into a mute. He doesn't want to talk to anybody unless they're going to get on their knees and pray to this guy like he's some Greek god or something. You know, like that's the only people he wants to talk to. He goes up there and says, "Oh, you know, I'm not talking anymore. You know, let's talk more action." Yet you want to sit down with all the yes men in the world and do interviews with these guys. You know, you don't want to answer the tough questions. And I mean, what's wrong with answering some questions or at least taking some? You know, there's nothing wrong with that, man. But that's just very, very weak. A sign of weakness. And I always believe this, no matter what it is. You make claims and you don't want to stand on your square and defend them. I have no choice but to believe that you don't believe them yourself, that you made it all up at the end of the day. And I'm through with it, man. I don't want to talk no more with these Wilderettes out there that go crazy over this guy. It's over, man. It's already been proven that Glovegate is done. He wasn't cheated, none of that. He just got beat by the better man. Accept it. You got your third match. And let's just move on after this. Hopefully we get undisputed, man. But my thoughts have not changed since then.
3 little birds sat on my window, and they told me I don't need to worry.
No proof, no evidence.
At the end of the day, to give my thoughts on this, obviously, I first want to play devil's advocate if I can for a moment, right? No, for real. Like, check it out. Look, Tyson Fury knows how to play mind games, right? He's got the gift of gab. So if you just ignore him and don't listen to anything he has to say, I would think, I mean, that could be something that works. Remember, he was getting under Klitschko's skin. Wilder was doing it with him previously as well. He was talking back, and we all know that didn't work. So maybe it has nothing to do. Maybe he's using the media as a crutch. Right? Maybe the whole, I don't want to answer. Really? You don't want to answer a question for Puncher? Like, it was such a tough question. I mean, the chemistry between you and your trainer is a really, really tough question to answer. You know? I mean, she's really coming after you with that question, Wilder. You know what I mean? No, I think it is possible he doesn't want to hear Tyson Fury. All right? I think that's what it is. Here's the problem. The gimmick, like the gimmick right here, covering your, you know, listening to the music and all that, just gives it away. That's what that does. It gives it away. So, in my opinion, he didn't come off as strong. I know some people are calling him the silent assassin and oh, what he did was brilliant and this, like, I don't know about any of that. I am disgusted by Ali's setback. I don't give a fuck what anybody's got to say. Okay? That dude was massaging this guy's balls in the middle of that damn interview. Okay? Hey, how are you going to be massaging the dude's balls while you interview him, dude? Hey, Wilder, we all know you beat him twice. For real. He cheated the second time. And the first time, you know, you won. You knocked him down twice. Didn't you score the fight, dude? Didn't you watch the fight, Ali Setback? Do you have to massage a dude's balls? Is that what you got to do? Do you do this too, like when you greet him, or what? Do you do that or something?
I think what you do is you put the water on the balls first, like Ray Torres said that one time. Hey, let me put some water on your balls.
Yeah, he's doing all this shit. He's giving him a back rub in the middle of the damn interview. You don't got to back rub a dude. Is that what it is? Like, oh, I'm going to give interviews to the people that had my back. In other words, people that bought Glovegate. The people that don't want to question me about Glovegate. The people that believe I clearly won the first fight. That's what you want. Well, that's bullshit. You want to rub the balls? You want to give them a back massage and shit? Is that what you want? You want to do this? Is that what you want?
3 little birds sat on my window, and they told me I don't need to worry.
So that people are giving them interviews and shit. Hey, don't worry, Wilder. You got this. They cheated you. You had an egg weight in there. That's why he beat you. That's why you had an egg weight form on the side of your head, and then it disappeared. That's what that was.
15 secs real quick here, D-Style. I agree with what you said. It's one thing, though, to ignore a guy, right? It's a whole other thing to wear headphones while you're ignoring the guy. So I agree with you that 100%. Now, the problem with all of this on top of it, it's June 19th. This is a new federal holiday. This is supposed to be the king of Wakanda, the king of black people. But it's a man who threw a black man under the bus. Number one. Number two, you did it after losing a fight. Like, we need to really soak that in for a second. A man had such a difficult time with the concept of losing that he threw his trainer, an Olympic gold medalist, a former world champion fighter, under the bus and said he poisoned him, and then decided, you know what, I'm not going to answer these questions. I'm good. I'm listening to Spotify. I got nothing to defend. I got nothing to say on this. It's terrible.
Well,
one of the best trainers and amateur fighters of all time, in my opinion, Mark Breland. Like, I mean, you look at his amateur, career was amazing. He's done a lot for the sport. Seems like a great gentleman. That really pissed me off, to be honest with you. We got to put some water on Mark Breland's balls.
Oh, and by the way,
I'd be really saucy about that.
Yeah. And by the way, to all these hardcore Wilder fans, I'll just call them that want to come to my videos and to my social media and ask me, why do I got to talk about it? Because I could do whatever the fuck I want to do. How about that? And you're not going to do anything about it. How about that? Just like Wilder couldn't do anything about the ass beating in the second fight, you ain't going to do nothing about me talking about it. Simple as that. Why don't you just come out and say, hey, Pete, well, you already told me on the phone. Well, what should they just say?
When people call you a hater and they tell you what you should be talking about, basically what they're telling you in code is, you're saying things that are bothering me. Please stop. Don't tell me things I don't want to hear. That's basically what it is.
Yeah. Stop using facts.
Stop criticizing Wilder because it bothers me and I like Wilder and I don't want you to say bad things about him. Just say that. That's what you really mean.
Hey, just get one of those headphones, right? When you listen to my videos and cover your ears and you don't have to hear me.
The bad thing is the truth. That's the big problem.
Because you know what they want me to tell them? This is what they want me to tell them.
3 little birds sat on my window, and they told me I don't need to worry.
I just don't understand how anyone could co-sign that, let alone go to your social media page and criticize you for criticizing that.
And here's another thing, too. We live in a society now where anyone can accuse anybody of anything, and proof does not need to be provided. Everyone just gets canceled immediately as soon as an accusation is brought up. It's their truth. I believe his truth, her truth. Like, there's only one truth. There's not his truth, her truth. You go in a courtroom, the judge has the truth. That's it. So it's just bizarre to me. Anyone can say anything, and there's no proof. And here's another thing. Is there a rule in boxing that says you can't bend your wrist back? There's no rule that says you can't bend your wrist back this way. So
it's impossible to bend your wrist back. What if someone wants to bend your wrist back?
I don't know. Maybe I'm double jointed, but if someone wants to do this with their wrist, that's their prerogative.
Now we're all trying to do this.
He went like this in one of those Yes Men interviews. He was like, "Look, it's impossible. Look." And then the guy just sat there, didn't even tell him, like, hey, bro, you could totally bend your wrist back. When you can't even tell a guy that's saying you can't bend your wrist back that you can bend your wrist back.
But where is there a rule that says you can't bend your wrist back like this?
There's no rule.
There's no rule that says you can't do that.
But let's look at this, too, in the context of another sport, right? So let's say Kawhi Leonard loses this series, the Clippers lose. And then rather than criticize his own game or his team's game or his opponents, he then says that Tyrone Lue poisoned his water, and that's the reason he didn't play so well. His own coach, Ty Lue, poisoned his water. Would Kawhi Leonard just be able to get away with saying that without ever having to stand up and defend what he said? But why is this guy allowed to get away with this? It's insane.
Here's another thing that people just aren't realizing. So if all this stuff is going on, then the commission would have to be in on it. And why would any commission put themselves out there like that? Why would they ever allow foul play with the gloves? Why would they ever allow water being spiked. Like they would be eviscerated. They would never be allowed to host a fight and sanction a fight ever again if that was discovered that they allowed all this stuff.
But Beeb, we got Joshua Clark in the chat right now saying that hadn't admitted to the cheating. No, he said that the glove was loose and he pulled it back in because it was loose.
No, he didn't.
And he didn't admit to cheating. Like,
but imagine
fucking idiots.
But imagine a commission. Imagine a commission that would just allow all that stuff. Like, how would that even be possible? They would never be able to sanction a fight ever again if that was discovered that they were in on.
No.
Why would they risk that?
Joe, I know you've had your hands wrapped before. A lot of people here on this panel have had their hands wrapped before. And when the wrapping's too tight, you start moving your wrist around a little bit just to loosen it up.
Listen,
everybody who's put on gloves and wristbands knows that shit. Hand wraps knows that shit.
There's been many guys at the gym that I've seen them getting wrapped up. And they would be like, no, that's too tight. Loosen it. Some guys like their gloves loose. They like their gloves loose.
Well, it helps the circulation and blood flow in your hands, if it's a little bit looser, but you also want it tight to keep all your joints, nice and, restricted from like falling out and stuff like that. So you got to have a good person that knows how to wrap hands properly that will enable you to have a good fitted wrap. Like it's in between for me because I have joint complications. I'm a drummer. I'm a musician for a long time, boxer, mixed martial artist, been doing a lot of stuff with my hands. So I don't want it too tight, but at the same time, I kind of want it a little bit tighter because all my joints are messed up. So it really depends on the trainer. Some people are really excellent at hand wraps.
Yeah, but we've all had our hands wrapped too tight.
But once again,
it depends on the fighter, though. Like some fighters, that's why some fighters like a puncher's glove. Some of them like the orthopedic gloves. I like every fighter's different, right? The thing with Wilder is Wilder wore MX gloves in like 3 or 4 of his fights, and I never saw any bitching and complaining about it.
Right,
and you could bend that one back.
Not only that, we spoke with the glove expert from Everlast, Ernie Gabion, who was at the glove selection meeting for that first fight that this guy in the chat's talking about. And we asked him, I just want to say this real quick. We asked him, did Wilder have any problems or make any complaints after the fight? He said, no, nothing. So that's it, man. It's over, man. Just give it up.
But there's also no rule that says the tape around your glove has to be a certain tightness. There's no rule.
But what's crazy about what G Funky just said, though, too, is that Everlast is actually the sponsor of Deontay Wilder.
But what Wilder did, though, is he, like I said this a couple of weeks ago, he took what the people on YouTube and social media said, and he just ran with it. This was contrived by them. Mm-hmm. So he saw that he was creating a movement. He had these people behind him. So then he said, you know what? Yeah, I'll go with that. And he just rolled with it. I'm not sure if he believes it or not. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But one thing I do know is I think he likes the movement that he created.
Well, here's what I want to ask you guys, and I'll go around here. There was a thing called kayfabe back in the day in wrestling. You know what I mean? For those that follow wrestling, kayfabe's dead in wrestling now. It just is. Everyone's in on it. Like everyone knows it's theater and all that. But is this like an old school selling of a pro wrestling fight match when people thought it was real? Right? Is it possible that Wild and Fury are homeboys and they're like, hey, you're going to accuse me of cheating? Say I did this and that. I'm not going to say anything, and I'm going to do my heel stuff, and I'll get to you, Maestro, but we're going to go around. But Johnny Sig, what do you think? Is it possible all this is just a big act so they can sell the fight?
It's funny that you compare it to WWE or wrestlers because there is a lot of theatrics here to what they're bringing to the table. Look at Tyson Fury. He was actually in the WWE for a little while. So my whole thing is that I think there's a lot of realism to it. I think they know how to sell themselves. I think they both have the gift of the gab when they want to do it. Now, if you ask me like who's won the fights both times, it's obviously Tyson Fury. Who's won the gift of the gab fights? It's Tyson Fury. Even though Deontay Wilder is very good on the mic, I just think that Tyson Fury had, just like the upper hand with his like gift of the gab and his talk. So I think he knows how to promote and sell himself. But at the end of the day, I think it's really real. If you look at what Tyson Fury did in that second fight, like, let's face facts, guys. I'm going to use this expression here. He put his balls to the wall. He didn't play around. He didn't play with his food at the table. He went and ate. And I thought that was really great. What says you guys?
Do you think this is an act, brother?
Part of me says it is. Part of me says it isn't. I want to believe it's an act, but I just think that I think he loves the support he's getting from the people on YouTube. I think he loves the support he's getting from the people on all the other social media networks. I think he likes this movement that is behind him. So whether he believes it or not, I think he's made it up in his mind that, you know what? I like this narcissistic supply that I'm getting from these groups. It makes me feel good. I could feed off of their energy. Maybe this is making him more focused, more motivated. Like Bernard Hopkins used to say, I have to have that chip on my shoulder. That's what drives me. That's what gets me up for these fights. Maybe this is helping him gear up for this third fight, but I cannot ignore the ridiculousness of it all. I just can't. So part of it, because it's so ridiculous, my mind won't let me believe that it's real. I'm fighting with myself to believe, is this an act or is this real? But either way, I think Deontay Wilder likes the attention he's getting from these people on YouTube and these people on Twitter and Instagram and what have you, all these social media networks. That's what I think he likes. He almost feels like he's their messiah. So now it's like I can't turn back now. I'm just going to ride this hell to the end.
Now, before I go to Christine, shout out to Ring IQ Boxing Talk. Subscribe to Ring IQ. He said it could be an act, these styles. Fear the future. Hey, Christine, could all this be an act?
Fury, no. I mean, he's always been crazy, whether he's up or down. He's being himself. Wilder, I don't think it's an act. I think that honestly, I think he has very low self-esteem and no confidence. And he does feed off of these people that are on social media that come up with these conspiracy theories that he knows are not true. I have been, as most of you have been, in the locker rooms, when the...
Well, looks like we lost Christine there. Well, we wait for her to come back. Maestro, give us your thoughts on this, man. Is this an act?
Well, I'm going to just address what Joe said. If a man believes what he says, he's not going to be wearing headphones and avoiding speaking his truth. That's number one.
I'm so sorry. My internet is horrible here.
Number two, I was criticizing Deontay, and there's a guy that...
I'm sorry, my internet is horrible. But there's
go ahead.
That the things that he said were done could be done. There's just like no way. You'd have to pay everybody off, and it's just not worth it. Nobody's gonna take the money. Nobody's gonna lose their job. It's ridiculous. I mean, I feel bad for him. I think he needs to go to some counseling or something, because he looks very bad.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that, Christine. Maestro, go ahead and proceed with your thoughts there, brother.
Yeah, so look, I was saying that he definitely doesn't believe the shit, because if he did, he wouldn't have had fucking headphones on avoiding fucking questions. So that's number one. Number two, I've been critical about Deontay on your platform, on Joe's platform, and on my own platform. And I had this guy call me a coon. Okay, whatever. I'm assuming he's black like me, but let me just explain something to these people that think people like me are coons. Number one, my family goes back to the plantations in the Caribbean. I'm proud that my ancestors survived the Middle Passage, so I'm not going to be a coon about anything. But let me explain this. Back when my ancestors were cutting sugar cane, you had people working in the house and you had people working in the fields. People that were working in the house are the people that were selling out their fellow black people to gain privilege with the owner of the plantation. Tell me that that's not what Deontay Wilder did. Tell me that that's not what he did to Mark Breland. This is a man that's acting like he's from the soil of the people representing these people, but then throws one of us under the bus. And you've got people that will call a black man who criticizes that a coon. That's how delusional these people are. It's ridiculous. Does he believe it? Of course he doesn't believe it. There's no way he could believe that Mark Breland actually spiked his water or that all of this other stuff is true. He just can't. But people are riding for this guy so hard that they're condoning behavior that would never have been condoned. Imagine if Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson, any of these people did what Deontay Wilder did. None of them would be getting a pass. None.
Okay. All right.
That is so amazingly well said. And, when I talked about, to bookend the conversation that we started with Deontay Wilder and all his excuses and should he be wearing headphones, it's because of that reason. Like I said, to throw Mark Breland under the bus, man, like, come on, dude. Like, this guy's such a gentleman, great amateur fighter, great world champion, great world professional fighter and trainer, giving you everything. To just dismiss him like that really broke my heart. And Amilcar, I feel you 100% on that. I agree. That's why I brought it up.
G Funky, give us your thoughts on this, brother.
Well, I just want to say this real quickly to kind of piggyback off of what Amilcar said. Check out Boxing Wave. He just dropped a hell of a video talking about this. I'm not going to give it all away because I really want you guys to go listen to what he had to say. He exposes all this fake stuff coming from these Wilder fanboys. But I will say this, man. I do think there is a possibility that all of this is a work, man. That they're working an angle to sell this fight. Wilder obviously seen the ridiculous videos that have been put out by his fanboys trying to cover up the fact that he lost. They want to make all these excuses. He ran with it. I feel like that's what they're doing. I feel like they're taking that, using it to sell the fight, to try to get, obviously more people to buy it, more people to attend the fight. That's what I think, man. Is a possibility that could be true because there's just no way. I mean, we've talked to people in the sport. I've talked to people that are glove experts. I know them personally. They're glove inspectors for the commission here in California. I've showed them the videos that these guys have put out, and they just completely say, look, man, this is complete bullshit. None of this is real. These guys don't know what they're talking about. They have no clue what goes on behind the scenes here. We've talked to the glove experts. It's just ridiculous, man. There's no way anybody can really believe this. That's why Wilder, again, didn't want to answer any questions. So I think that they're just taking this stuff and running with it, trying to work the angle. There's a good possibility that's true. And look, Fury's doing a good job of kind of going along with it too. He didn't really mention too much at the press conference. I think he did say something about Mark Breland briefly, but not a whole lot. But I can't wait to see what else he has to say. We know Wilder's not going to do anything unless he's talking to a yes man. So, yeah, I think there's a good chance it could be all just part of the sale,
Well, for me, I mean, obviously, it is possible that there's going to be some like realness in there. It's a boxing fight, and obviously, I think there's some animosity there, but a lot of this shit's so over the top. I remember watching some wrestling stuff, right? And the funny thing about wrestling is that there's a lot of like unbelievable things that happen in wrestling. You know what I mean? Like I would always tell myself, like, really try to run you over with a car? You didn't report him to the police? Like, you're gonna challenge him to a wrestling match? Like, what? And that's how this feels. Like wait, he tried to assault you in the ring with an illegal, like with an egg weight? And they drugged you, like they try to murder you in the ring, and you didn't like report this to authorities. Like, you say you have the proof, but you don't want to reveal it. You want to challenge him to a boxing fight again, like that. That's why I kind of have this feeling that estos vatos son compas, like that. I think there's been some talks, some like, hey. you know what? You already kind of believe it. So why don't you go a little further with it? Attack me with this, attack me with that. I'm going to make people believe I'm going to try to fight AJ. All right. I'm going to fool guys, like Maestro and them, about Undisputed. But then, I'm going to do a switcheroo, and then we're going to go ahead and do the trilogy. You know what I mean? So let me use AJ a little bit. Let me get some of that, press. Let me announce it. Like, really, dude, you announce the fight 2 days before arbitration's over? The whole thing is fishy to me. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just a speculation. I have no proof that it's a work, as they say, at all. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and proceed here. Oscar de la Hoya. Oscar, the golden boy, is going to come back September 11th. Christine, let me start with you. What do you make of Oscar de la Hoya coming back to fight Vitor Belfort September 11th? I guess he's trying to take Canelo's date. I move out of the way, Canelo. The golden boy's back. What's up?
De La Hoya, go away. Nobody wants to see this fight. Like, I don't know if he's having money problems. I don't know what it is. It's like your glory days are over. When he fought Mayweather again, they were over then to me. It's just like, why? What are you doing? And you think you're gonna take this from Canelo? Come on, man. You're delusional. It's funny, it's comical. Who wants to see this? Nobody. I don't understand what goes through his mind, but then again, I'm not doing some of the things he's doing, but I don't know. I just say go away.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what's going on with the screen here, but there we go. And Beeb, talk to us. Oscar de la Hoya, September 11th. He's going to take the date, brother. What do you think?
Well, I'm going to be a hypocrite here because I didn't have a problem with Tyson and Jones doing it, but I do have a problem with De La Hoya doing it because he's 48 years old, and obviously Tyson was in his 50s. But De La Hoya, I think, really, really abused his body over the years. And I think at 48, all that damage that he's done to his body, not just by in the ring, but a lot of the substance abuse issues that he's had, I think he's got some psychological issues as well. I just don't think that he's fit to fight. And I'm actually worried if he does enter that role. He is going to fight, but I'm worried for him that he is going to fight. Actually, it's kind of scary for me. I hope he's going to be okay, because I just don't think, when I saw him at that Triller event, the way he was acting, there just seems to be a lot of issues with him, and I think he's got a serious substance abuse issues. I don't think he's ever really conquered those demons. And I think that's going to carry over into this fight. I don't think that he's physically or mentally prepared to even do an exhibition such as this.
All right, well said. Johnny Sig, talk to us. De La Hoya against Vitor Belfort, the golden boy against the phenom. You know what I mean? What do you think? What's going to win, TRT or cocaine? What do you think?
I'm going to agree with Joe. De La Hoya definitely seems like, he's a little shot upstairs with that. Let's go, baby. Remember that? Like when you're watching that Triller, like Triller's fun, like Snoop Dogg smoking a joint, getting Al Bernstein high. It's like, this is great. This is so much fun. But then De La Hoya comes on. He's an absolute train wreck. He comes on hot. And, I respect De La Hoya, man. Like when he did in a lot of fighters from yesteryear, growing up, watching him, like, I got nothing but respect for him, but we got to call real. We got to recognize real with real. That's why we're doing what we're doing right now. What do I think? I think that luckily he's fighting a guy that, his practitioner is mixed martial arts, which is Vitor Belfort, and De La Hoya is a boxer. Now, De La Hoya is older, so is Vito. So the thing is that we have here to deal with is that, can De La Hoya actually function and get into a proper training camp? I'm all for it, but the bottom line is, it's like we have another scenario where we have a mixed martial artist coming into boxing, as we talked about before, the female fighters going over from boxing to mixed martial arts. So I mean, De La Hoya definitely has an advantage here, but I mean, how much does he have really in this tank? How well has he been taking care of his body? We've seen things publicly where we have to question those things. So it's a big concern. In a boxing match exhibition, which we've seen lately, I think De La Hoya will prevail, but it's going to be a slop fest, I think. Safe to say.
It might be. It might be. I could see that. What do you think, Chief Funky? Is he going to take the date? Did he snatch the date? From Canelo? Is it a boss move? Is that what he just did?
Well, I don't know. I think that Canelo, if we get that plant fight, I haven't really heard much about it. But if that fight does happen for Undisputed, I believe that will be on the 18th, the week later than De La Hoya. So I don't know if I would say he pushed him off the date or stole it, whatever. But this fight here, I'm going to say, man, I'm actually kind of interested in this fight. I didn't say a word. I didn't do any promotion. I didn't even make a video about the Mayweather-Paul fight because that was just a complete joke. This guy's fighting someone that's not even a boxer, Like they were literally just playing in the ring from what I heard. At least we got two real fighters. I mean, they're older, both retired, but they're both real fighters. They know what they're doing in there, just like Jones and Tyson. They were old, retired guys, but they know what the hell they're doing in there. They have experiences where this Paul guy has zero experience, just playing around basically. Like I used to with some of my friends in the neighborhood. They just put on the gloves and just fight in the front yard or something. That's all that dude. That's all he knows. But the thing is this, man. Oscar's been out of the ring for over 10 years now. Didn't look good in his last two fights, especially his last fight. So he better be in tip-top shape for this one. Because the thing with Vitor Belfort is this, man. This is back when I used to watch MMA, the late 90s, early 2000s. This dude actually has experience in boxing. That was the big thing about him. I remember when he was blasting guys out of there early in those early UFC days, it was because he just had faster hands. And then it came out that the guy actually boxed. He has a background in boxing. I believe he has at least one pro fight as far as boxing goes. So this dude knows how to box. Obviously he's not on the level of Olympic gold medalist, multi-division champion like Oscar, but he does have some experience. So Oscar better be prepared, man. That's all I'm going to say. And I understand what you mean, Beeb, about and Johnny, about being concerned a little bit with Oscar because of his lifestyle since he's retired. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's like this, man. This is the way I'm looking at it. This guy has been fighting pretty much his whole life. He knows the risk. He knows what's involved going into these sort of things. So, at the end of the day, it's on him if he doesn't come in this thing prepared, nobody else.
There you go. There you go. And I want to say this. Obviously, Oscar de la Hoya, he is a gold medal, but dude, he's old. Like he's up there in age. He's
48.
abused his body. He's been taking a lot of drugs, and yes, he lost weight. He got a six-pack again. I don't even know this dude should be boxing, even in an exhibition against a MMA fighter. I'm not sure, And he might just turn around and lose this fight and make boxing look like shit. Like these boxers just fight somebody your size, bro. Like why are you fighting a bigger dude for? Look at what happened to Floyd, and he embarrassed the sport. Like that's what I don't get. Like no one to look at the nuance of it and be like, oh well, Belfort was big and and De La Hoya was old and he's not. Nah, they're gonna say, haha, MMA beat boxing. That's what you get. So you, after all the shit you've been talking to De La Hoya, you better win this fight. You better go out there and school Belfort, or you're gonna get it just like Floyd did. I don't care if he's a real fighter. Okay, like you made a decision to fight somebody bigger than you because you feel you're gonna beat them, right? Right? You better do it then. That's all I got to say about that. Maestro, give me your thoughts, brother.
I mean, my first thought in this is that it's actually sad. And I'll explain why. I mean, I get my legal understanding and knowledge from a number of sources. One of them is that man right there, Mr. Habib right there. All right. Another is years of watching Law and Order and other legal shows as a kid. And then the third is friends and other people have been through the system and share stories. I've seen multiple times where lawyers are just removed from cases because they fucked up and they're not doing a good job. And it's called professional malpractice. I actually feel bad for Virgil Ortiz. I actually feel bad for Zurdo Ramirez, because why is their promoter, who's doing a terrible job promoting them, fighting Vitor Belfort? What purpose does this serve? If you are his fighter looking at this, you've got to be upset about it. Like, I was wondering, why is Zurdo signing with Oscar? Then I'm reading like interview statements he's made. He actually looked up to Oscar. He like idolizes the guy. That's the reason he signed with him. I'm sure Virgil Ortiz idolized Oscar and had a lot of respect for him, as I did. See, the difference with Droy Jones and Mike Tyson and some of these other people, they're not fucking promoters. They don't have a job to do as a promoter. They don't have fighters that they're responsible for that are dying on the vine, while other people with other promoters are actually making money and are active and are in fights that people care about. What the hell is going on with Virgil Ortiz right now since the last win he had? Have you heard about him? Is his promoter speaking about him? Are we seeing things promoting Virgil Ortiz? Of course not. He's one of the best up-and-coming fighters in boxing, and his promoter's shit in the bag and fighting Vitor Belfort. For what? What purpose does that serve? It's terrible. And those are my thoughts.
Got to respond to that real quick?
Go ahead.
I just want to say this. Here's my opinion, not only on Oscar, but Floyd Mayweather as well. I think these guys, honestly, I think they're running out of money. I'm just going to flat out say it. These guys were both of them were the two faces of boxing, the cash cows of boxing for quite some time. And then they fought each other. De La Hoya passed it over to him, I guess you could say, after they fought. But the thing is this, these guys both made a lot of money fighting. There should be no reason why these guys are back in the ring fighting anymore. None at all. These guys should be comfortable financially if they were responsible with their money. I just don't think that they've been very responsible with their money. They're not living that kind of lifestyle of people that are comfortable. You know, that's just the way that that's just my opinion. I have no proof of that, you know, but I wouldn't want to be doing this at 48 years old or, you know, my late 40s and mid 40s like Oscar and Floyd. There's just no way.
Hey, Christine, before you go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you and any final thoughts you got.
Yeah, sorry guys, duty calls. I have a meeting downstairs in a little while, but In the Ring with Christine, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and on Wednesdays, you know, we do Women Crushing It Wednesday. It's just we're hanging out, you know, talking boxing, nothing. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just a bunch of girls talking about boxing, so it's pretty fun. And we have been invited to be on a G Funky show next Wednesday, so we're gonna crash it. We're gonna take over. So everybody tune in. That's where we're gonna be next Wednesday. And I thank you all, guys. Like I said, I always love talking to y'all. It makes my week. But like I said, duty calls. My coach is like, we got a meeting in 5 minutes. Okay, I gotta go.
All right. Have a good one, Christine.
Thank you so much. Talk to y'all soon.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Absolutely.
Hey, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm back. My internet went out.
It happens. But any final thoughts you have on De La Hoya boxing Vitor Belfort?
Well, I mean, I think it's a thing that's going to continue to happen where we have these like kind of like random, you know, former celebrity boxing champions face like YouTubers or face like MMA fighters. And I think it's going to be a thing that's going to stay. I'm cool with it as long as no one gets hurt. I mean, it's exhibitions, 8 rounds, and fighting's fighting. But at the end of the day, I think that De La Hoya is going to prevail. You know, it's like I know he's a little bit, his lifestyle might be a little bit off, but you know, he's just a better seasoned fighter. And Belfort is a very good fighter. And like Joe was saying, like he knows how to throw his hands. Like there's no mistake about it. But I think that if you get to a certain point, no matter how much money is on the line, you want to protect your ass. Like with Floyd, what he did. What was his name? Logan Paul was that one of the Paul brothers? Like, yeah, that was the one. I don't think he gets into a fight unless he feels he could pull it out. Now that was a different circumstance, but I got to say, buckle up, guys. Get used to it. We're going to see a lot more of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Chief Funky, go ahead and give everyone some final thoughts, brother, before you got to go, brother.
Yeah, man. I just want to say that, again, I think this fight is going to be more interesting than the Mayweather Paul fight, strictly because both guys know how to fight. They've been fighting for pretty much their whole life. And I think it is a little bit sad, too, because like I had stated a few minutes ago, I really think that both Floyd and Oscar they need some money, and that should not be the case with the amount of money that these guys made fighting. That just shouldn't be happening. But if you just look at the way that these guys live, they don't live like guys that have that kind of money anymore. They just don't. I know that there's been a lot of speculation about Oscar's substance use or whatever you want to call it, his bad habits outside of the ring. That's something that he's going to have to take care of, if he wants to, continue to live a nice life or live the life that he's used to living, But like I said, there's just no way that I'm in my mid 40s or my late 40s and I'm thinking about getting back in the ring and fighting with guys again. Like, to me, that's just signs of I need money, Yeah,
absolutely, brother. Hey, brother, have a good one, man.
Thank you, guys. Have a good. I'll be tuning in, man. But I got some parental duties I got to take care of. But
no
thank
problem,
you
brother. Have a good one, brother.
G Funky,
Right.
have a great day, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's go ahead and let's keep the show going here. Brando Moreno wins a UFC championship, flyweight title. He is the first Mexico-born champion, out of the UFC to win the championship. There has been quote unquote Mexican fighters. They're from the USA, but they're Mexican. Kevin Ioli, but like Tito Ortiz, Cain Velasquez, just off the top of my head. But they've always been from the United States. But this is straight out of Mexico. Moreno wins, cut from the UFC in 2018, and then to come back, and not only come back to the UFC, but to win the world championship. Big deal for Mexico. And I think, for a while it seemed like Dana didn't appreciate the lower weight classes in the UFC, it seemed. He traded away Mighty Mouse so he can get like Askren, which is the craziest trade. That has to be one of the worst trades in sports history, right? But it's what he did, right? But now I think this might show him that there is a market and a lot of money to be made because there's so many countries that can give him talent outside of the bigger weight classes. And maybe this will encourage the UFC to do a few more weight classes because there's too much weight training going on in that sport. It's way worse than boxing. But John Isay, I want to start with you. What did you make of his win and the significance of it for MMA to tap into Mexico, which is known as a boxing nation?
Well, you nailed it on the head right there. Like you had said, Cain Velasquez, yes, he is of Mexican descent, but he was born in America. Now we have a fighter that was born in Mexico that just got crowned champion of the world. That's a big, big, significant deal. Let's just take that in for a moment. That weight class, there's a lot of awesome fighters there, and I'm glad they didn't cancel out that flyweight weight class because I follow the UFC extensively, and for a while, you're absolutely correct. They were trying to cancel that weight category out, and I'm like, there's so many great fighters here, and they fight hard, and they fight great, and it's very exciting when they do it. And again, different type of sport for our boxing listeners. Check out the UFC. I mean, I love boxing more than anything else. But mixed martial arts, it's a different look. It's a different animal. Like we were talking about before, where Clarissa Shields moving over to MMA and other, type of fighters from MMA going into boxing, and vice versa. But to answer your question as quick as I can, there's a great weight class there and world-class fighters from all over the world. And what more do you want in competition than world-class all around the world?
Absolutely. Milcar, what do you make of it?
Well, I think in that it's difficult for me to really gauge the impact of this. Johnny Sig is correct. The UFC has not really historically focused on a lot of these lower weight classes, which is why ONE FC out of Singapore has like really capitalized on it by actually drawing top talent in the lower weights and kind of showcasing it. Now, in terms of the impact of this in Mexico, I did something very simple. I went to google.com.mx and I typed in his name, and really not that much has come up in the Mexican media about Brando Moreno. Most of the articles that you're going to see are actually from the United States, from San Diego, from LA, and then like MMA focused news outlets. Didn't really get that much coverage in Mexico. So I think it's something positive for sure, but I think mixed martial arts in general, and including Brando Moreno, have a long way to go in terms of being popular down there. I think boxing is clearly still king.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%, Milcar. I agree.
Joe B, what did you make of this win? A Mexican-born fighter is now a UFC champion. Is it a threat to boxing in Mexico, in your opinion?
I don't think it's a threat to boxing in Mexico, but anytime history is made, it's something special, and this is definitely something they could build off of. Obviously, maybe they're not going to snap their fingers and automatically Mexico is going to be, a MMA type country, right? They're always going to be a boxing country, a soccer country, or a football country, right? Those are the two sports in Mexico. But like I said, this could be a step in the right direction. And there's definitely a lot of Mexican Americans in Texas, California, Florida, I believe, as well. So I think this is a good thing, and I think it could grow into something even bigger, right? I think it has a lot of potential to do some good things for MMA internationally, because MMA primarily is popular maybe in Brazil and popular maybe in the United States, but it's not as global as boxing. Like boxing's popular in the UK, Mexico, a lot of Central American countries, Puerto Rico. And MMA, I don't think it's big globally, but MMA has really made strides in certain areas. So this can just help them become more global, I think.
Absolutely.
Agree.
Let me go really quick. But just to give my thoughts on this here. Look, as far as this goes, I don't think it's an immediate or I don't think UFC growing in popularity in any country is a threat to boxing as a sport in that country. I just don't. Like I do think that a lot of fans think that way though, right? It's always like, well, if it grows, then it's going to impact boxing. It's going to take away fans from boxing. Like people could do both. Like they could be fans of both sports, Like this idea that if I become an MMA fan, I'll never become a boxing fan. That's not true, because a lot of my younger cousins and stuff like that were not into boxing at all, became UFC fans, and now all of a sudden they're like Canelo fans. All of a sudden they're watching some boxing fights where I couldn't force them to watch boxing before, right? But so to me, it is a good way to create boxing fans in general. And in Mexico, I just think if they love fighting, they'll probably love this. They'll probably, if they're smart, they'll do an event in Mexico where he's the headliner. And I think it'll sell pretty well over there.
One thing I'll say, D-Style, is I consistently go to Mexico. I have for a really long time, and now my wife loves going there. So we go there. I think last year, even during the pandemic, we made about 4 trips. And whenever I see UFC on in Mexico, it's always at the places that are geared towards tourists from Canada and the United States. It's not in the place where you see locals really, really going. And I think, it could go down there and become popular, but I think it's got a long way to go before it reaches anything close to boxing.
On a global level, Amir Carr, I could not agree with you more. I mean, the thing is, when we look at boxing, the best part about it is that it's a worldwide sport, right? That's what we love about it. And now we're starting to get some of these hybrids of different cultures come in with the UFC. And you can, like you were saying, D-Style, you can like a lot of different sports. I like baseball. I like football. They're completely different. Same thing with boxing and mixed martial arts. They're completely different sports. What do I prefer? Boxing any day of the week. What's great is that when someone actually has an open-mindedness to appreciate all combat sports, whether it's Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, whatever it is, and appreciates the discipline of it, that's when you're really opening your mind to the whole world culture. And that's what we're trying to do here as fight fans, I think, right?
Can I just add one thing real quick, and I'll make it really brief?
Yes, Joe.
A lot of people talk about how, MMA is for the younger crowd and boxing's for the older crowd, but I wear my boxing shirts out and about, and younger kids ask me, "Oh, you like boxing? You like that?" So I think boxing still is popular with the younger crowd. Like, these kids are in their 20s, some of them are like late teens even, and they ask me questions about, "Oh, you like Teofimo Lopez? Oh, you like Tyson Fury?" So I think some of these boxers, and I think boxing has resonated with the younger crowd, and I think ESPN and Fox have done a pretty good job. And YouTube, I think, is really helped put boxing out there. I think as much as I criticize some of these YouTube channels, the one thing I do give them credit for is they do put out a lot of content, and they're pretty consistent with that.
And that's what we need in the boxing world too. And let's face facts. Everyone loves a good fight. So when we get a good fight on television, I love football. I love everything. But when we see a good boxing match, let's think about this real quick. Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward, Holyfield, Bo. Like, think about how that made you feel. It's unbelievable. There's no sport like it. And a lot of these fights go for sometimes 10, 12 rounds, or we get like quick ones, but it's just so wonderful and so amazing. Like, look at Pacquiao Marquez 4. That was hell on earth. Where else are you going to see that? That was hell on earth. Let's face facts. Like, he ain't gonna get up, Jim. When Roy Jones threw that out there, and you knew it, and you felt exactly the way Roy Jones did. He ain't getting up, Jim.
I watched. Yeah, go ahead, Bernie, sorry.
No,
I watched quite a bit of MMA, not as much as I used to, but I've never seen an equivalent of Corrales Castillo. Not even close. Not even close. We could just go off and name fights, but at the end of the day, I'm very biased here. I'm a hardcore head, so I'm not the best person to speak to.
I'm a hardcore head too, and I was gonna say, like, remember Joe Goosen? Tell him you gotta get the fuck in outside of him right now. like
absolutely.
Just to kind of finish my point, as far as the UFC goes, look. The younger the crowd, I've noticed that a lot of them like both sports. It's like a hybrid crowd. Some of them may prefer UFC more, but they still like boxing. But that's better than them not liking boxing at all, right? And I do think boxing grows on people. Boxing was designed, right? When you look at both sports and how they were designed, they were both designed in two completely different ways, right? One of them started and I'm not talking, there's Valdez and all that, but placing all that aside, modern day UFC started, they put all these fighting styles together, and then they had all these tournaments, and then you had some guys hybriding the striking with the grappling, and it kind of evolved, and then the government got involved and said, no, you're not going to go in limited rounds. You're crazy. You're going to have rounds. You're going to have gloves. And they adopted a lot of that from boxing. They were like, you can wear gloves. Wear some grappling gloves. Do that. You're going to have rounds. You need more time to grapple. Fine. 5 rounds, right? And then they kind of just came up with some weight classes, and then you have what you have, right? So boxing was designed completely different, but boxing was literally designed, okay, in a different way. Like boxing, prize fighting was literally full contact, kind of like UFC was at the beginning, okay? And they started removing things. Promoters started removing things, and this was before TV, before they had HD where you could zoom in. This was when the only way to watch a prize fight was sitting out in the desert in the hot sun, because you had to go out, you had to take a train to go watch a prize fight. It was illegal in the big cities. And guess what? Nobody wanted to just watch two dudes laying in the ground. They wanted to see some movement, right? So they got rid of the wrestling. They got rid of the hugging. They started to remove things that they felt didn't make it entertaining for people, right? So boxing was literally designed to entertain individuals, which is why you see when it's a competitive fight, when it's a good fight, it's the best form of entertainment because it was designed for that specific purpose.
It's amazing. When I started watching mixed martial arts, I said to one of my buddies, and we got a little high one night, so we're smoking a joint, and we're hanging out, and this goes back about maybe 15, 20 years. And I said to him, I said, imagine if you were an alien and landed on planet Earth and you watched mixed martial arts at this point in time, because I got to remind you guys, they had like sneakers on, they had sweatpants on. You know, they're rolling around the mat. It's like, what the hell am I watching? So if you like land on planet Earth, like, how is that entertainment? But they evolved, like you're saying. What I'm trying to say here, D-Style, is that 100%, like, they evolved and it's become more of a striking sport. It's gotten so much better. The ground game's gotten better. The ladies are kicking so much ass, and I got nothing but love for them, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, hey, but congratulations to Moreno. Great win. You know what I mean? So that's
100%. First Mexican-born champion in the UFC. That's
absolutely,
a big deal.
Brother. Absolutely. We're going to move on to the next topic here. I want to talk about this weekend. All right, this weekend here. Now, look, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that there's a lot of boxing on, because there is, right? But it's a lot of quantity, not a lot of quality. Okay, I kind of feel like I'm going to a buffet and a lot of that food's dry, and you know what I mean. It's a lot of it looks old. Like there's a lot of options, and some of it's okay, but it's like I don't know. I just want to go to a restaurant, order like a nice meal, get something good, you know. And I feel like, yes, I'm at the buffet. I don't know which to pick. And some of it looks dry there. I got to like mix it myself. Everybody's been to those buffets. Milcar, here's my question to you, man. What event are you going to watch on Saturday night? What's your main focus on Saturday?
Well, you made a great point. You know, when you're younger, you can go to, back in the day, you used to have a Pizza Hut buffet. I used to frequent often. And then Golden Corral once I was in college, but now I try to eat clean. I try to eat better, and I restrict my diet to things that are nutritionally important to me. So, you know, to put that into the context of what we're saying right now, none of these fights are really going to be great fights. Let's be honest. But for sheer star quality, I'm going to have to go with number one. I got to watch the Monster Inoue. Plus, unlike the Chavez fights, it's not taking place on pay-per-view. And then I'd have to follow that up probably with the Charlo fight, now that the Teofimo Lopez fight is not happening. So in a way, because honestly, I'm a huge fan. He's got unrivaled power, especially in the lowest weight divisions. It should be exciting because guys that fight him are literally walking on a tightrope the whole time. And it's really literally just a matter of when they fall off. And yeah, so that's what I'll be doing. I'll be watching the Inoue fight on ESPN.
Well said, well said. Hey, Joe Habib, what are you going to be watching this weekend? I mean, it's a weekend, a lot of quantity.
I think I'm going to watch the Inoue fight live because he's the most exciting fighter out of everyone. You know, they're all going to be in one-sided fights. But at least I know his fight's going to be exciting. I'm not 100% sure. Sometimes Munguia, you know, he has to grind it out to get these wins, and he gets hit a lot. And you know, Charlo, I don't know how that fight's going to play out. That could be a quick one too, but I'm not sure. But I know that Inoue will definitely bring the excitement, so I'm going to watch that one live.
Okay. And what do you think about the week overall? Do you think do you agree? It's a lot of quantity.
I agree with that, but I also think boxing shoots itself in the foot by putting all these fights on at the same time. These guys counter-programming each other. It can't be helpful to anybody, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. Okay. Johnny Sig, what is your thoughts of the weekend, and what are you going to prioritize?
Well, here's what's up. On a Saturday night, when I have a weekend like this, my living room looks like a Las Vegas sports book. I have TVs everywhere. You know, I got iPads, everything going. I'm looking forward to Adam Lopez versus Isaac Dogbo. I think that's a really good fight.
Good fight. Yeah.
I every time, you know, Adam Lopez gets on there, Blue Nose, he throws a lot. He's a lot of a volume puncher. Like, granted, he doesn't get a lot of knockouts, but he has a tremendous entertainment value. So I'm going to say Lopez and Dogbo is my choice for the fight of the weekend for me that I'm really looking forward to the most.
Yeah, shout out to the boxing historian Savage Native Mad Dog. Since the Munguia fight might be a war. Shout out to Andre Rodriguez. Free TV fights will make boxing or put boxing up there again. Well, I don't know. I mean, they've been trying that with the PBC, but you know, you got to do both, free TV and good fights, right? That's what it takes. But I'm definitely looking forward to the weekend. I mean, you know what I mean? More than likely, I'm 90% sure I'll be at the Munguia fight, and I'll be enjoying that one in the afternoon, get home, and watch the ESPN. That's what I'm going to prioritize. I think Monster Inoue will look phenomenal like he always looks. I think, and I've already predicted this, first round knockout. I think he's going to do it out in the first round, right? That's what I'm predicting from Monster Inoue in this fight. I think he's going to clip him with a straight right down the pipe, knock him smooth out. And if he gets out of the first, he'll get out in the second. Okay. It's as simple as that. Okay. Now, with that said, we're going to go ahead and talk about Valdez extending his contract. Okay. Oscar Valdez has re-signed with Top Rank. He tweeted it out. He's excited. Johnny Sig, good choice for Valdez. How do you feel about it?
Well, the platform of ESPN on Top Rank is wonderful, right? I mean, and let's face facts, guys. At 130, I think he's the best that's out there. There are a lot of great fighters coming up, and they have to prove to be great, but a lot of great potential, I should say. But I think that's a good look on his behalf. You know, Top Rank, ESPN, that platform. I mean, we all know about the Zone. We all know about other platforms. But, I mean, ESPN is the ultimate leader in worldwide sports.
There you go. There you go. Joe Habib, talk to us. Valdez, good choice.
Yeah, because you got Shakur Stevenson as a potential opponent. You got Jamal Herring down there. You know, I think that there's a lot of options for him. If Lomachenko goes back down to 130, or even if Valdez goes up to 135, you know, he can fight some good fights up there. So I think from 130 to 140, I think Top Rank's got a lot of great fighters there, and there's a lot of interesting matchups that could be made there. So I think it's a good move. I think it's a really good move.
Absolutely.
And Maestro, what are your thoughts on the extension here? Valdez extending with Top Rank.
It's actually really interesting as a topic because we actually had a debate on this on my show Monday, Mano a Mano, with Kenny. And Kenny's adamant that people should not sign with Top Rank and that they should look at exploring options like the PBC. And we had a guy call in, Next Level Boxing Talk, who is a huge Top Rank fan, for those of you who may not follow him on Twitter. And it got pretty testy, and round 2 will be taking place Monday. What I will say about this particular signing is that it makes sense because it's 130. And Shakur Stevenson is at 130. Jamel Herring's at 130. If it weren't for that, then I wouldn't necessarily think this is big news. But because he's re-signed, I think it shows us as boxing fans that the likelihood of those fights taking place increases. The likelihood of us seeing Valdez Stevenson has gone up. The likelihood of us seeing Valdez Herring has gone up. And because of that, I think for boxing fans, it's a good move. And for Valdez, it makes sense.
Absolutely. Look, I'm looking forward to look. I don't like it when fans, and I'm not trying to single out Kenny here, but I don't like it when fans they look at everything in absolutes, right? And boxing fans do this with everything, right? Like people say, Only the punches you don't see coming are the ones that hurt you. Like, I mean, I think if you saw Wilder's punch coming and it lands flush, I think it's gonna hurt. Like, like there's guys that can fucking punch. Like there's guys that have weak chins, right? It's not all chins are the same. It's about your defense. No, not all chins are the same. I think we all know that not all chins are the same, right? Now in this case, nobody should sign a long-term contract with any promoter. Why not? Maybe and to that fighter, it makes complete sense for them to sign a long-term contract with guaranteed money, given their circumstance, situation, what other fighters are signed with that promotion. That matters, right? It just does. If you're, I've seen guys go to PBC, and in that weight class, they just don't have a lot of options, right? I've seen guys that signed with Top Rank, and it wasn't the right choice. Crawford, right? Like I agree. Like if somebody tells me, like I would tell Crawford, don't do what Valdez just did. It doesn't make sense for you right now. Don't do it, right? So it depends on where you are in your career, what your age is, what's your fan base, what does your division look like in and around your weight class, who has those fighters. All that matters. And I'm sure Valdez has a good manager. He's got an unofficial advisor and Saul Canelo Alvarez right there that he could talk to every day in the gym, right? The face of boxing that he could ask questions to. And I do believe that Valdez made the decision that's right for him in this circumstance, okay? Because you don't want to end up like Devin Haney where you can't get a fucking opponent, okay? You want to end up like that? Like I don't know. Like it just depends, right? I think Valdez signing with PBC would have been atrocious. That would have been a horrible decision. Who would he fight, Maestro?
Let me ask you.
He wouldn't. He wouldn't. If a guy's at 122, yeah, PBC makes a hell of a lot of sense. If it's 118, you could argue Top Rank. You could argue PBC. I think 130 is definitely a weight class where the Top Rank has like laid its claim and where the big fights are going to be taking place.
Well, go ahead, Johnny.
I was going to ask you, bro, at 130, what's the dream fight for you that you'd like to see?
Oh, well, we're gonna touch on 130 right now.
We're gonna touch on that. So we're reading each other's minds right now.
Absolutely. And we are gonna segue to this. But did anybody have anything else? Any final thoughts on this Valdez signing with Top Rank thing? Anything at all? Going once, going twice. Is that the fat lady saying? Yes, it is. Okay.
I think she's already here. Yep.
Yeah, so she's already there, man. She's already there. I just want to take a quick 10-second break, and we'll be right back after this.
3 little birds sat on my window, and they told me I don't need to worry. 3 little birds sat on my window, and they told me I don't need to worry.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. It is time for the divisional round. 130 pounds. That is, a division with a lot of talent. Obviously, Valdez is in that division. Okay, just did his extension with Top Rank. So let's definitely talk about this. Junior lightweight. First question, who is the best fighter at 130 pounds today? Maestro, give me one name. Who's the best in the division?
You always get me with the one names.
It's the way it is, brother. That's the rule.
Well, if you're just gonna make me give one name, I gotta say Valdez. Although if you consider if you consider Tank Davis a 130 pounder, then
so who you got?
I got Valdez.
Okay, Valdez. All right. So why is Valdez the best?
I mean, he's had the most dominating and most impressive performance out of anybody. I rate his win over Miguel Burchell much higher than I rate Gervonta Davis's win over Leo Santa Cruz, because Santa Cruz was not a natural 130 pounder, and it showed. Oscar Valdez took on a big 130 pounder in Burchell and absolutely dominated him. So just off of that and most recent performances and strength of schedule, so to speak, at 126 and at 130. I gotta go with Valdez.
All right. Beeb, who is the best 130 pounder? Do you concur, or you got somebody else?
No, I concur 100%. I think by beating Burchelt, he made himself the man, because I thought Burchelt was the man before him, and I thought Burchelt was going to beat him, but he didn't. So we got Valdez here at number 1, and I think Valdez is just very versatile. I think he can do a lot of things in there. I think he's a very underrated counter puncher, a very underrated boxer. I think he's very underrated defensively as well, because he just knows how to position himself on the inside very well to make himself hard to hit. And I think he moves his head a lot when he's working his way on the inside. So I'm going to go with Valdez here.
All right. Johnny Singh, do you concur, or you got another name in mind?
Majority rules. Oscar Valdez all day of the week, bro. When he dropped Miguel Burchelt three times, and really put an ass whooping on him, that was incredible, an emphatic statement. And he was already there before that, but that was like, that was the whole thing where he cleared the finish line with that fight, man. Like, where it's like, okay, we know that this guy's the real deal now. So 100% Oscar Valdez all day.
I agree. I think Oscar Valdez is the best 130 pounder. What's funny is that I didn't even consider him like top 3 or anything before his big win over Burchelt. That was a big win, surprised me. And a lot of it had to do with his improvements. Like, he was doing things that he was staying real disciplined in that fight. To his credit, he had a lot of respect for Burchelt's power. I think that had a lot to do with it. He was more disciplined than he usually is. He was not, staying in the pocket and minding his work as much as he was. And that a lot of that has to go to Reynoso and that fight camp that they got over there, and a lot of the great work that they're doing. So shout out to them. Oscar Valdez, the best in the division. But what about Shakur Stevenson? Anybody consider Shakur Stevenson?
I gotta say something about Shakur, but before I talk about Shakur, I actually want to talk about Tank Davis real quick, if I can. I'm a sucker for these shows where like they do the montage stuff and it's like the mini documentaries before fights. Always have been, always will be. So because of that, I had to watch the episode of Tank Davis, Mario Barrios, like the pre-hype stuff, and Calvin Ford took over like a framed statement that said that Floyd took on the best at 130, the best at 135, and the best at 140. And who does that sound like? And then like was so excited to rush that over to Tank Davis and show him. And he's like, yeah, that sounds like me. That sounds like me. I'm doing it younger than when Floyd did it. And I'm saying to myself, bro, you didn't take on the best at 130. At 135, you took on Gamboa, and now at 140, you're taking on Mario Barrios. So I would like to actually see Tank Davis take on guys like the guy you just mentioned, Shakur Stevenson or Valdez. The reason Shakur Stevenson cannot be mentioned in the same light as Valdez is he has not destroyed someone of a high level just yet. Right. He engages in snooze fest, and it's just not going to get you ranked the same way.
I got you. Mad Dog says Burchelt felt like Woody does when Andy walks in the room. God damn. Anyway, let's go ahead and we'll start with you, Maestro. Trust my process, please. One name. All right. One name. I don't want to hear, but maybe this guy. None of that. Did everybody hear me? All right.
Yes, I heard
Give me
you.
one name, Maestro, please.
Loud and clear. Yep.
Who is the dark horse of 130 pounds?
The dark horse at 130 pounds. You know what? I'm going to go with Chris Colbert. I've been very impressed by Chris Colbert, and he doesn't get talked about that much in terms of the guys that don't have titles. So I'll go with Chris Colbert as my dark horse.
That's a good name. Caught me by surprise with that one. You see what happens when I challenge you a little bit? You say something wise and good. Or anyway, what about give me a dark horse, Johnny Sig, 130 pounds.
Joseph Diaz. Only one loss, he could come back and he could continue to do his thing. And at that weight category, like, you have to think about it, right? Like, they throw a lot of punches and they fight really hard. And a lot of these guys are very young. Like we mentioned a lot of, Tank Davis. We mentioned a lot of fighters that are out there in that weight category. These guys are young and ambitious, Shakur Stevenson. So anything goes in like those type of things. And I think that a lot of fighters, like this is what gets twisted in the sport of boxing. You can learn a lot from a loss. Sometimes a loss is way more beneficial than a win.
Okay. All right. Well said. Well said. You guys in the chat, let me know who you got as a dark horse of the division. A lot of options. Joseph Diaz, Jojo Diaz is a really good answer. Beeb, who's a dark horse of 130 pounds, junior lightweight?
I love Chris Colbert too, man. The guy's dynamic. He passes the eye test, man. I mean, he's just got a really, really exciting style. He's quick. Footwork is unbelievable. In and out. Can punch too. I think he checks all the boxes. I love the kid. Big fan. Very entertaining fight.
I'm going to have to say that the dark horse of 130 pounds is Shakur Stevenson. Okay? And I'll tell you why right now. Because if you put him in the ring, you cannot tell me with confidence that any of these dudes could beat him. You might pick somebody to beat him, but you'll be like, he could beat that guy. Like, you won't count him out in any fight. I don't care how boring he is. He might bore you to death while he beats the guy you want him to win. You know what I mean? Like, he might bore you to tears, but he might beat that guy. Okay? So, it doesn't matter who it is. So, Shakur Stevenson, in the weight class at 126, really good win over Joel Gonzalez. I don't care what anybody tells me. Okay, that one's going to age. It's going to age very, very well. Look at what Joel Gonzalez did to Mariaga. He dominated him. Okay, you remember what happened, Mariaga against Oscar Valdez? You remember what happened then? Okay, so that there's levels to this boxing thing. And what I will say is that Shakur Stevenson, outside of a Valdez and maybe, I don't know, Colbert, that's about it.
Okay, so for me, first of all, I Stevenson had me at hello. He's named after Tupac Shakur, my favorite rapper of all time, period. So I was already invested. And he's from Newark area where I originally grew up.
Well, there you go.
But D-Style, I love you so much, bro. But I was even falling asleep thinking about you talking about him fight.
No, but here's the thing. He might bore you to tears, but he might get what?
Okay.
That W.
I was using like the dictionary definition of dark horse, so I looked it up again because I don't know, maybe Katy Perry's song like confused us about what that actually means. But dark horse means a candidate or competitor about whom little is known. I don't think that applies to Shakur.
Ain't nobody knows
who unexpectedly wins or succeeds. I have not seen him unexpectedly win yet or succeed. And I think a lot is known about Shakur Stevenson, at least if you're listening to Andre Ward and Tim Bradley. So, and also, I think Valdez beats him definitively.
Me too.
I don't think that fight is close.
Zero doubt.
Zero
doubt.
But here's the thing, though, right?
I bet my
nobody in the panel picked him as the best 130 pounder, right? So if this was a horse race, you're telling me right now it's not appropriate to say
good comeback. Good comeback.
Yeah, you good. And his name's Shakur Stevenson.
He's not a dark horse.
But
he might bore us to death while he does it, but he might do it.
He's not a dark horse.
Hey. Hey, but ain't nobody know who he is. Nobody even goes to his fights, Maestro.
He's very popular.
Are you muted, Maestro?
Hey, man, he's from Brick City. I mean, I'm always going to give it up to him. I watched him from the crib and the Olympics and stuff like that. Like Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. Again, named after my favorite rapper of all time in Tupac. Like, I wanted to ride and die with this guy. But, he needs to – he's getting his man strength, as they call it. And, let's talk about this real quick, guys.
How long have we been hearing that, though?
Right,
Johnny,
exactly.
Johnny, let me ask you a quick question.
Yes.
Don't they have like a mural painted on a wall of Shakur Stevenson down in Brick City? That's how popular he is.
I believe I saw that.
I saw it, Johnny. I saw it, Johnny.
Oh, you actually saw the real thing?
Yeah, they have a mural. Like, that's how popular this guy is. He's got a mural.
Well, I got to say, that's badass.
You know, you made it. They don't have a mural of Chris Colbert anywhere. Nowhere. Not even in his backyard is there a mural painted of Chris Colbert.
Yeah,
absolutely. I boxed in Newark. I got no mural.
So let me tell you something. If I go for a drive right now and I just randomly ask them people, hey, what do you think of Shakur Stevenson? Well, what do you think they're going to say?
They said, you know what they would tell you? I had a hard time going to bed last night. I watched that fight. That's what they would tell you.
And hopefully you don't run into Billy Joe Saunders.
I didn't feel comfortable taking a sleep. I didn't feel comfortable taking a sleeping pill because of the side effects. So I watched that fight. Went out like a light.
He's definitely talented. Yes. He's with a good promoter. They're moving him. He's got two big hype men behind him in Bradley and in Ward. Although they were both very critical of him the last fight, to be honest. So I do give them credit for that. But I mean, he's on a huge platform getting major praise.
Right.
You
know, I think he gets more promotion than Valdez does, to be perfectly honest with you.
I think so too. Joe Tessitore loves the guy.
Hey,
Tim, what do you think of the speed, Tim? He has to change his. I don't want to say what he has to do in between rounds, but I mean, he gets excited.
Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. But with that, I mean, look. It's okay. All right. So here's what we're going to get to now. What is the best fight that could be made at 130 pounds? One fight. After we all go, you could give me all the fights you want. You know what I mean? But one fight. Beeb, you go first with this one. What do you got?
Valdez Tank. It's a war. It's a war.
Damn. That is a war. Valdez Tank. That's a war right there. Okay. All right. Can Tank even make 130 though?
He can make 130.
He did it for Leo. He did
it in his last fight.
Okay.
Got to give him the benefit of the doubt. He did it for Leo.
All right.
He didn't get any slushies that training camp. He did it.
Hey, Johnny, well, what's the best fight at 130 pounds?
Tough question. Valdez Stevenson. I'm going to tell you why. Is that I want to see how good Stevenson really is, because I know he's got potential and he comes from the East Coast area where I'm from. So I have a heavy heart for that. And I think that he's one of those guys that if he's tested very, very hard, he could probably bring out the best of himself, because that's what happens in boxing. And for Valdez, he's going to have his hands full with that kid no matter what. Even if, Stevenson shows up on his worst day, he's still going to be pretty damn good.
Okay, man. But are you sure it's okay. I mean, but what if Stevenson wins and bores you to death and puts you to sleep?
Well, I mean, at least I picked a good fight, because I mean, the underdog would have won there, because out here in Vegas, Stevenson would be a heavy underdog against Oscar. Yep.
All right. What do you got, Maestro? What do you got?
Well, I had the exact same fight that Joe had. In fact, that's why I reacted the way I did. He took it right out of my fucking mouth. This guy.
You took Colbert out of my mouth.
Yeah. So. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, that's good. So, but what I will say is, I'm just going to paraphrase what Johnny Six said. I want to see how good Tank Davis is. And he's in excited, but the difference is, unlike Shakur, Tank Davis is in exciting fights. I may question his level of opposition. The only fight that I've seen that wasn't entertaining of his that I've watched, at least recently, was the fight with Gamboa. That was just a ridiculously poor performance by his standards.
Okay. All right. Look, man, Joseph Diaz against Oscar Valdez. I want to see that fight. I think that's a hell of a fight. That's probably a fight of the year candidate.
Can he make 130?
Yeah. Well, he's gonna fight at 135, but I mean, he'll make it for Valdez.
I mean, he lost his title on the scales, so I think it's a legitimate question.
I mean, Tank's lost his titles on the scale too, didn't he?
Yeah, this is true.
You know what I mean? So, just saying. So I think that's a fight I'd like to see in a way.
Everyone deserves a fresh start. Remember that in that movie Bugsy? Everyone deserves
Absolutely.
a fresh start.
I love that
Warren
philosophy,
Beatty.
Joe. Yep.
Everyone deserves a fresh start.
I
Warren
love that
Beatty.
philosophy. Yep. Absolutely.
The only bad thing is he said it after he beat the shit out of that guy. He had to get the guy a beating before he.
Fam,
Hey,
I would have
but-
given Deontay a fresh start if he manned up and apologized at the press conference.
You know,
But
I'm
he
going to
didn't.
bookend this whole thing, and we all know I'm a Deontay Wilder fan, but I wish he just owned up. Like, I was like, dude, just get out of your own way with this and just admit that you got beat. It's all good. I'll still love you. The fans will still love you. We'll love you even more.
Well, how about this? We have reached the end here, the 12th and final round, final thoughts. Everyone will have the floor for 2 minutes, say whatever they want, plug in your stuff and all that good stuff. Johnny Sig, give us your final thoughts, man.
About everything we talked about today, I love boxing no matter what. I'll always be into this sport. It's the greatest sport on planet Earth, no matter what trials and tribulations we go through as fans. Always stick with it because you never know what you're going to get. Like Larry Merchant once said, the theater of the unexpected. And sometimes you get some really awesome shit that you get to see.
All right. And plug in your stuff, brother. Tell everybody where they can find you.
At boxing, what the hell am I on Twitter? Boxing Music John.
All right.
And you can find me there and my podcast and all the things I do with the people, actors, musicians, professional boxers, mixed martial artists. And I appreciate you for the plug. I always fuck that up, by the way. Like, I'm like, they're asking me like, what's your handle? I'm like, I don't even know my own phone number.
Johnny, just Google yourself. You'll find out.
Here's
Yeah,
my phone
that's
number, though.
nice.
Let me give it to you. 702-600-9868. You know, so there it is.
Oh, wow.
Johnny, don't dox yourself. Don't dox
So yeah, don't dox yourself there. But hey, Joe Habib, hey, thanks a lot, John. Thanks for coming on, brother. We definitely appreciate it. Joe Habib, give us some final thoughts, brother.
A lot of fights this weekend, but unfortunately, the expectations are low from me. Hopefully, I can be pleasantly surprised, and maybe there's a diamond in the rough out there this weekend, and I'm going to be rooting for that. And I think the boxing gods may have been watching down on us because, that pay-per-view, I'm sorry for Teofimo Lopez, but, I mean, having that pay-per-view on this weekend didn't make much sense either, but it is what it is. It's not going to make much sense having it on August 14th as well, so. I think that card is just doomed. It's cursed, I think.
Hey, tell everybody where they can find you too, Joe.
J Habib1 on Twitter, Joe Habib on Facebook, Joe Habib on Instagram, and Ringside Reporter live here on YouTube every Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time with my co-host or my partner in crime, my host, Eric Lauder.
Well said. Maestro, close us out with some final thoughts, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So great to see Johnny Sig. Been a long time since I've heard your voice. So awesome to have you on the panel today. Always a pleasure to be here with my big bros, Joe Habib and D Style Boxing. Two of the best doing it out there on YouTube. No overtime tonight. I am visiting family, which is why I'm in a different location, but we will be back for that next week. Next week, Monday, catch me on Mano a Mano with my partner, Kenny T. We'll be having a good discussion, PBC versus Top Rank. And I'll either be doing this topic on that show or doing it on my own. But I want to talk about white privilege, and I'll put that in quotation marks, in boxing. It's been talked about with Wilder. Recently, Paulie Malignaggi brought it up on an interview he had with Chris Mannix. I think it's an interesting topic to discuss. I want to do a little bit of a deep dive into it and discuss that particular hot button issue. So that's what I'll be doing the next week or so. And a pleasure, as always, to be on the round table with some of the best out there doing it.
I agree. It's an absolute honor.
I got a theory. You know how like Eddie Hearn's got that, he's doing all the UK fights now on DAZN,
Yeah.
obviously, and he's looking for new announcers. I bet you Paulie Malignaggi gets hired again.
Yeah. I
That'd be
mean,
great. He was like one of my favorite. I would have to
he was
say
very good at what he does. He's
him and
very
Al
good at what he
Bernstein.
does.
Him and Al Bernstein, my favorite announcers.
Yeah, I got a lot to say on the issue, and I'll give a preview to it. I mean, Paulie Malignaggi is Sicilian. Like his background is an immigrant background.
Yeah.
Not everyone is one of the same just because they fit into a certain racial category.
You're absolutely
that's true
correct.
with black people. That's true with quote unquote white people because At the end of the day, if a Norwegian and a Sicilian are both white, like what does white really even mean at that point?
Don't mean shit.
I'm gonna get in on the topic. I think there's a lot to discuss on it. So yeah.
I love it. And I love this time I spent with y'all. This is awesome.
Absolutely, brother. Just to close out the show here, shout out to everybody. This is D-Style Boxing. We'll see you next week on the roundtable, guys. We're out of here. Peace.
Thank you all.